Hello, this is the first episode of many in a series that I'm planning on doing where I rank every single game soundtrack, DLC soundtrack, and very rarely, and I'll explain this in a second, mod soundtrack that I can think of. We're starting out with the Outer Wilds soundtrack, as you can see here. This is a good example of something that will include exceptions that I'm going to keep very rare. These are songs made by Andrew Prahlow that I thought should be included, but I'm going to keep two winners for this one, unless the winner of this soundtrack happens to go to the original game soundtrack. Otherwise, I'm going to keep the best song from the DLC and game, whichever one is the best out of both of those. I'm going to keep that winner as well as the other one, and that one can compete in the bracket pretty much in the place of another song. Now, to explain what I'm talking about, what I'm doing is I'm going to rank, like I said, as many soundtracks and DLC soundtracks, piling them together, of course, as I possibly can. Now, my exception for mods and other things are if the game soundtrack was specifically composed by the same artist who made the rest of the soundtrack, then I will consider putting it into the rest of it. But since this is such a influential part of Andrew Prallow's music, I'm going to include it because it's also something that he based heavily on the rest of the Outer Wilds soundtrack, so I just thought it was fitting. Yeah, obviously this is the first soundtrack I'm going to be ranking. Once I'm done ranking as many soundtracks as I can possibly get my hands on, I'm going to put them in one massive bracket, right? The winners from every single soundtrack. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting. I'm very curious to see which song wins for me. I will have guest appearances later on, but for now, it's just me and the Outer Wilds soundtrack. First song we are going to be listening to is Timber Hearth by Andrew Prahlow. This is a great soundtrack, and I don't know anything about music theory personally, but it really encapsulates, I feel like, the rest of the game and sets the mood very, very nicely. It's just kind of a happy, more upbeat song, but also is extremely nostalgic to listen after having played the game. Like, I think it was 2 years ago now that I first played this game. Beautiful, beautiful game, by the way. But the soundtrack really, really encapsulates this, and this is an amazing first track. Of course, first title is going to be the one that most people hear first, but we are doing this in the order that the songs are listed on Spotify. I also might skip through certain parts of the songs, as most people have listened to a lot of them, so I'm going to do that really quick. There's a lot of parts. There's a lot of instruments in here that I really like. The banjo, whatever is going on in the background right now. There's also kind of that deeper, I don't know if it's a bass or just some kind of background guitar almost. I don't know anything about music theory or anything, but I'm going to be ranking these anyway. So yeah, just very, very nice soundtrack, and I think it's time to rank this one now. This one is Timber Hearth, and I'm going to put this one in A tier. It's not quite S tier. I think there's much better songs in the soundtrack. However, this is an amazing opening song and beautifully, beautifully encapsulates, I think, the rest of the soundtrack and gets you started on your adventure through Outer Wilds. So I think it's a perfect song to start with. Next is the title of the game itself, the song Outer Wilds by Andrew Prahlow. Now, this isn't as well known. I don't actually think this is in the original game. However, I might be wrong about that, by the way. This is one that I don't have a lot of experience with personally. I don't have this saved, but I guess it just means I'm gonna have to listen to it. Oh, you know what? I might be wrong. I think this is the song that plays when you're playing hide and seek. That is the tutorial for the signal scope. I think that's what this is. I like this. This is very upbeat. It reminds me a lot of... Oh, and spoiler warning, by the way. I will play some songs from the soundtrack that are major spoilers, and if you don't want to listen to, of course, the soundtrack before you play the game, then this is a terrible, terrible place to go. But I will warn, this does have major, major, major spoilers ahead. I think the base game soundtrack doesn't really have many spoilers, but there's... I will let you know when there is a major spoiler and you can skip past that. But yeah, this is a good song. Reminds me a lot of, as I was going to say earlier, Travelers, right? Ooh, this ending is really good. It's all more like a more uplifting version of Travelers, a little bit more upbeat. But to be honest with you, overall, I don't think this deserves much higher than a high B tier. I might bump it up to A tier later on, but that's what I'm going to give this song for right now. Let's get to the end. That ending is really good. That might make me have to bump this up later on. Anywho, Museum. This is a really, really great song in my opinion. Pretty underrated, just background, really chill music. I listen to a lot of this when I study, when I go to sleep, and Andrew Prahlow has been my top artist for a long time. Darren Korb, I think, has been my artist for 2 years in a row now. But Andrew Prahlow has always, always, always been one of my top artists ever since last year, I think. Yeah. There's not really much to Museum, though, as much as I hate to say it. It's a lot more of an ambient track, kind of has that less grounded feel that I think a lot of the rest of the soundtrack has. But, oh shoot, I should turn my volume up a bit too. There we go. I listen to a lot of this stuff in the background while I'm playing games too, so it's not music heavy games, but whatever. Yeah, great soundtrack, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. However, it's just not one that I would recommend to anyone if I were to say, hey, the Outer Wilds soundtrack is amazing, go listen to it. But that being said, this is a great track, but I don't think it deserves any higher than a C tier. It's kind of funny that I'm going straight down the line like this, but anywho, we'll continue on with Space. This is a great song, by the way. I love this one. This is kind of a mix of the more, again, less grounded, quote unquote, I guess, less earthy instruments and more of the echoey feeling that you have, which very, very well encapsulates that feeling of going to space for the first time, when you leave the atmosphere and it slowly transitions to being dark, and all of a sudden everything's floaty and slow and everything feels still and almost motionless. And it's just a very great intro song to the absolute insane chaos that you experience the second you step out into space. Well, I say step out, float out, perhaps. Great song. It's fairly long, so I will be skipping through a fair portion of it. Where is it? Right about here. The soft piano notes, I think, really elevate a lot of this track. Just the very occasional chords, as well as that one instrument that plays. Again, I really should know my instruments before doing this, but whatever, we're winging this, and I think that's awesome. It has a lot of the instruments that are present throughout the rest of the soundtrack, and I don't know, I just think this is a great example of one of Andrew Prahlow's most, I guess, just greatest use of his really good use of a bunch of things that don't necessarily feel like they'd fit together initially, but definitely do. That being said, I don't think this fits in a place anywhere other than a high B tier. For me, I think a lot of the soundtrack is great, but Echoes of the Eye is definitely a lot better. Okay, now we have one of my personal favorite songs, Castaways. For me, this really, really well encapsulates a song that we will listen to later on in the DLC soundtrack. And it's very similar to that one. You might know what I'm talking about, but Elegy for the Rings, it is very similar to Elegy for the Rings in that it has this very, very weird, like, scary start, and it encapsulates that fear of mystery that you first have. I think a lot of times when you see this, you will see the Ash Twin. The Ash Twin. What's it called? Not memory. The projection stone thing. And you see just this really, really weird thing where there's a bunch of masks around you. The Nomai mask you see when you die, and it's a very bizarre looking place, and it looks like it's space, but it's really just the ore that's inside the Ash Twin that's spinning, as you know when you enter Ash Twin, and it makes a whole lot more sense when you go there. But just like the song and how it slowly resolves and it begins the piano, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense until you go there, until you experience the whole song, right? So it requires context, which I think is what this song does super well. The rest of this song, however, is used in places like, I think the place inside of Dark Bramble where you see all the dead Nomai. Spoiler alert, by the way. In Dark Bramble, where you see all the dead Nomai from the first generation that came there, one of the launch pods launched off, enter Dark Bramble, and you see a bunch of the Nomai who chased one of the signals to another escape pod, I think it is, but I'm not totally sure. I cannot remember. And when they rush over there, they realize that they were at the wrong signal, and because there's the duplicate signal, of course, to get to their main ship. And so it's just a very somber, sad song that plays when you go there. And it also plays in, what is it called? Ghost Matter Place. It also plays in there, which is very fitting because it symbolizes the end of the Nomai, which I think is amazing. And I'll play this last little bit as I kind of go on a rant. So it encapsulates both the beginning and the end of the Nomai, and both of how just the entire journey of the Nomai revolved around their incredibly sad deaths, and how that's kind of the main theme of the game, I guess, the base game anyway, is how they were so joyful and they were always so hopeful, only to not make it in the end. They were so close to reaching their goal. They were actually right there. They just couldn't get the sun station to work. And their journey ended, and they didn't accomplish their goal. They didn't accomplish what they had been so hopeful for. And ultimately didn't succeed. And they started by dying, revived, built themselves up, and then lost. They didn't accomplish their goal, and they found something new and got wiped out again. I think this song just perfectly encapsulates that. So I am going to put Castaways in A tier, probably on the lower end because the song itself is not amazing. I think it's really good at the end. The start is solid, but it's not everyone's song. So I think it deserves a spot in A tier. Next up, we have the Sun Station. This is a great theme. It doesn't really have like a ton of emotional ties, I guess, other than you find out that the Sun Station didn't work, right? And you discover a lot about what the Nomai were trying to do, and it's a big kind of place of points of discovery within the game, which is, of course, what the game is about. But I think this song, it has a lot of emotion in it, but it's not necessarily super obvious unless you have the context of the game itself. It's very, very synthy. It does a very great job of feeling hot. When I listen to this song, I do not think of anything but just an intense blinding light or heat. I feel like Andrew Prahlow really, really captured that super well. In terms of the song itself, I mean, it's a pretty solid song overall. I cannot say otherwise. However, I cannot say that it is one of my favorite songs from the track. I do like how later on it repeats with that synth, and how it has that very jarring feel. Again, I don't know my music theory very well, but it just feels hot, which I think is done very well. And so I'm going to put this in the B tier, probably the lower ends, and maybe even C tier eventually. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in C tier, definitely below Museum, just because I think this is a solid song, but it's not one that I would go recommending to everyone. And to be honest, although it's a very effective and great song and fits the soundtrack perfectly, it's just not my favorite song overall. Next we have Main Title, finally getting this one out of the way. So let's listen to that. I think this is just an amazing intro song. I just want to start with that. This was the second song out of the entire soundtrack that I listened to first. The first one was The River, and this was before I actually played the game, which I'm a little bit sad about. However, I love that I had the mystery, and I knew that theme... Pardon me. I'm a bit tired. I love that the river theme was something that I knew about and was anticipating for so long until I finally played the DLC. And it was just hit with this hard crash, and I was like, wow, this is just an explosion. But the main title theme was that same way almost, where I had played a little bit of the game first, but every time I hear this song, it just gives me so much nostalgia for the first 2 times that I played this game and couldn't get into it, and then the last time that I played it, and there's just so much nostalgia behind that. And on top of that, it is just a really solid song, and I feel like just explodes with kind of as an introduction for the rest of the track. So I'm going to rank this high A tier, and it might slip its way into S tier later on. Anywho, we have The Search. This is a very solid song. This is a song I don't feel like deserves super high praise. However, it fits what it needs to very well. The DLC does not have a ton of songs like this where you're just exploring, I guess, which I feel like a little fault that I have with the soundtrack. However, it makes sense, and it has its place for sure where it does have that, but it's the one little thing that I'm not a huge fan of. But I understand why they don't have necessarily songs for every single place. But this is a good example of one where you're just exploring, and all of a sudden you get hit with the song, and you know that there's stuff that you're exploring, or that you are going to learn, and there's information to collect. And yeah, it's just a great song for that. I know the song plays in a couple of the key areas, like man, there's a couple spots where this is just a huge revolution song, I feel like. One of those places being the Northern Observatory? Maybe it's the Southern Observatory. I cannot remember which side of Brittle Hollow it's on, but the observatory on Brittle Hollow, I think, plays this song. And you learn a lot about how to deal with... spoiler alert, by the way. You learn a lot about how to deal with the cyclones, or whatever you want to call them, on... no, pardon that. You learn a lot about the water planet. Jeez, I'm blanking. Giant Steep in the song, which I think makes it a very effective song for just kind of discovery and stuff like that. So, solid song. However, I don't think I can rank it as high as most of the other songs. I think it has to go below the Sun Station for me. I might spread C tier out a little bit. I think Museum got a little bit of an unfair point, but I'm going to leave it where it is. Next, we have some songs that I don't have saved and do not listen to very much. So let's start with the Uncertainty Principle. This is exactly what I thought. This is one of the songs that plays... Oh, this is the song that plays when you're looking for quantum objects. I'm not going to claim to know a lot about quantum physics because I haven't taken any courses on it. However, the extremely limited knowledge that I do have on it, the uncertainty principle obviously being a reference to that. In what way, again, I'm not going to claim to know, but I think this very well encapsulates the mystery and also just the almost scary and eerie feeling you get from all the locations that have quantum objects on them. And later on, huge spoilers upcoming. Later on, the Eye of the Universe and how it, the mystery and scariness that there is behind that, with both the strangers and how they feared it, and how it's just this big mystery and uncertainty, but you're going to go there anyway, right? It just really captures that very, very well. This is a great song so far. I am pretty sure this is also the song that plays when you are on the quantum moon. I can tell by that part specifically, the high note. This is a really great song. Well, I have to be honest, I think as good of a song as this is, it has to go in as my first. I'm very conflicted. It's either a D or a B tier, and it might be both at the same time, which is funny because it's the uncertainty principle, which is a song that relates to quantum objects. So, which one of these I'm going to put in? I'm not going to put it in C tier. That doesn't feel right. I think I'm going to put it into D tier, to be honest, because the song itself is not much to call home about, but what it does is very effective and beautiful, which is why I almost want to put it in B tier. So I think I might put it in B tier for right now. This is a very funny looking and isolated soundtrack ranking. Next song we have is End Time. Sorry for the sudden microphone audio change. End Times. One of the best songs in the original track, I think. Perfectly encapsulates all the feelings, I guess, from this beautiful game. It really makes you feel like things are coming to a close, which is obviously what it's trying to do, and it captures that very effectively. It's very echoey and distant, which I feel like is a major player in the way that it makes you feel when it's actually happening when the song plays. I think I already know this is going to go into this is going to go right above Castaways, below Timber Hearth for me. Great song, to be honest. I don't have much to say about this. It's amazing, and I particularly love this part right here. How it has this transition, and then builds up into one final climax, and then it has that sun station sound to it, which is perfect because the sun station was supposed to trigger the sun exploding, which is what the End Times is based on. Major spoilers, by the way. Yes, so Sun Station I think deserves that or not Sun Station, End Times deserves that spot. Next up is 22 minutes, reference to how you have 22 minutes to beat the game. Sad that this is not a 22-second song, but we'll take it. This is going to be our first D tier, to be honest with you. The song is beautiful and perfect for the soundtrack. However, it's very short. It's not something that I would ever listen to, I think. And it's more of a soundbite than I'd say an actual OST. it captures what it does perfectly. Do not get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with the song. However, it's just not something that I think I would listen to, I think casually. But yeah, I think D tier is a very justifiable place for it. Next up, the Nomai. Already starting off very, very well. I'm very pleasantly surprised by this. Wow, okay. If you couldn't tell, I'm kind of in awe with this song and how I did not realize that this needed to go on 2 soundtracks. So I'm going to add this to some soundtracks really quick. Or not soundtracks, sorry. Playlists. Wow. This is a really great song. Holy cow. It's very fitting. Yep, and it plays a more, not necessarily upbeat, but a less depressing version of the end of Castaways, which I feel like that's entirely necessary for what this soundtrack is meant to be. It's a soundtrack that plays when you encounter what's her name? Solanum. And again, it's very fitting that it has these themes of previous songs that we had at Nomai grave sites, because Solanum is dead. However, Solanum is alive. And so it has kind of a very mysterious air to it, like a sound to it that's very scary and a little bit mysterious and dark. However, it also is a lot more, again, I don't want to say upbeat, but that is, for lack of a better term, that is what I would describe it as. It's a little bit more uplifting almost, less dark and a little bit brighter, but still very dark, mysterious, ominous, and scary. I'm very curious as to what this last minute is going to be. Oh, very, very cool. So this is very reminiscent of sounds that you will hear on the Eye of the Universe. I might be wrong about this, which is the end location. Major spoilers, and as well as that, the Quantum Moon. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah, so that song, very, very long listen. However, this song is going to have to take the place of Timber Hearth for me. This is an amazing, amazing soundtrack, and I am pleasantly surprised by that one. The next one is obviously the Ash Twin Project. I can already tell that this is just going to end up with me having significantly more songs than I intended on my playlists. This is good. It's got a very nice percussion. It's very distant, however, which I feel like is necessary for the rest of the soundtrack. It's got that slightly grounded feel, but you really get that vibe of being inside the Ash Twin Project, where there's a fair amount of discovery, And it feels kind of exciting, but it's also very sad. But you're excited. You're discovering so much new lore. This is a place that you've seen since the beginning of the game, and so there's a lot of discovery, and they don't want to take you away from that. However, it's also very sad if you really, really listen to some of the background noise that. Yeah, those drums again have it has a very heavy sense of exploration, which is heavily contrasted by pretty much all the other sounds in this, that are very echoey. There's that sensation synth. You can hear it very, very distant. There's a lot of sounds in this that I don't think I noticed before. This is great, yes. I want to listen to the whole thing, and I think I will. However, I think I already know where I'm going to rank this. I think I'm going to rank this because overall I wouldn't listen to this. I don't know if this is going to be my favorite song to listen to constantly. However, I have to say this is a very, very good song. There's a lot of elements that it pulls from other themes or OSTs in the song, or soundtracks in the song. So top of B tier for sure. Top of B tier. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Oh, comes kind of a climb. I'm assuming this happens when you grab the warp core and settles down so it can play End Times, or not End Times, Final Voyage, which we will get to later. Great soundtrack. I don't think I've heard that one yet. Next is Dark Bramble. I have a feeling this one's going to be lower for me, but let's give it a listen. This is a very dark, very scary theme, as I would expect. It already feels very distant and foggy, and I feel like I'm going to look behind me and there's going to be an anglerfish. There is. That was a joke. There's no anglerfish behind me. If you thought there was an anglerfish behind me, you would have been sorely mistaken. However, no matter how many times I say that, I cannot help but look behind me. Yes, this is a very dark, kind of echoey theme, and I have a feeling, yeah, it's fairly consistent throughout the whole track here, but I don't think I can put this above 22 minutes, so it's going low D tier. It's not a bad song, and it fits its area perfectly, but like 22 minutes, it's great in the soundtrack, but it's not something that I think I would listen to very often. There's not a whole lot going on in it. That being said, though, I think it is a very fitting piece. A lot of these pieces would be ranked a lot lower in, yeah, honestly, a decent amount lower if they didn't have the context of what they provide in the game. Dark Bramble would probably be a low E tier normally. However, I'm going to put it low D tier because it is very fitting. This entire soundtrack, I don't think there's going to be a single song for me that is E tier. That being said, we're just going to have to keep listening. The next song is Giants Deep. This is a very great theme. It's very, 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 very echoey and watery. I don't think this theme plays until you get underneath the current, which is amazing because it's very peaceful, very echoey. It has that watery feel that I think is very necessary for a soundtrack like this. This is very good. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about this one other than it's just a great track, but I have to put it on... It's going to go right below Space and above the Uncertainty Principle for me. There's not a whole lot going on in this. However, it's, again, very echoey. That right there, whatever that instrument is, I think it's, again, some kind of electric guitar. Andrew Prahlow really likes to play around with weird sounds on his guitars. And that was one of them that I think is great. Yeah, great song, but I don't think I can put it higher than mid B tier, mid to low B tier. Next up is Know My Ruins. Okay, this theme plays in the Sunless City. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I'm going to turn the volume up. So, if you can hear, there is a very... I'm going to play 22 minutes really quick. Now listen very closely. That little instrument that plays in both of those is also used when you are looking at those balls that track your... You move them based on where you are looking. And that's used a lot throughout this soundtrack. And it's very interesting to me. I really, really, really like that sound. I've yet to point it out until now, but this was a very interesting use of it. I don't mean to skip too much of the song. This is a very long song though, and I know this song pretty well. This is much more of an ambient song. It accomplishes what it needs, and to be honest with you, I don't think this song gets any higher than the Sun Station. I'm actually going to put it bottom of C tier because this is very great for what it needs to do. But to be honest, that's about all it does, is what it needs to do, and it's a good song. But there's no crazy revelation here, and I think that's why this song is placed where it's placed. Because although it does its duty in the Sunless City and wherever else you listen to it, which I think this might be on the Moon too. Whoop, not yet. It fits very, very, very nicely. However, I don't think I can rank it any higher than this. But anywho, Final Voyage. Immediately hit by that. There's 4 notes that plays consistently throughout the majority of this theme. They slowly build up. I'm going to turn the volume down, by the way. You can still hear those 4 notes playing, and it's consistent. It gets really good when you enter Dark Bramble, which you'll hear in a little bit. It's a very sad kind of everything's coming to a close theme, but almost exciting too because of the new journey that you will have for a very short amount of time, exploring something new for the last time, likely. And it captures that feeling very, very well of, this is it. It's the final voyage. The final journey that you're going to take in this game, unless you have the DLC afterwards. There's a little bit of distortion going on. Like static distortion, it sounds like. Yeah, I don't have too much more to say about this song, except for this part. You can really hear those 4 notes still. They kind of come back to life in this part. Only for this part to play, which plays, I think, when you enter the museum. But I might be mistaken. Yeah, Final Voyage, great song, and I think it has to go above the Ash Twin project for me. Maybe. No, I think this has to go above, right below Timber Hearth. Right below Timber Hearth. Yeah, that's fitting. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, Ancient Glade. This is not one that I listen to very often. Oh, that's right. This plays, I think this is your first encounter with quantum objects, or quantized objects, I guess. Ooh, I like that. That's used in Hearth's Shadow as well, which is a Lost Reels track. Right, somewhere around here, one of these. Yeah, it's good at capturing kind of that mysterious feel that you get later on, but keeping it light. Ooh, that's really good. Okay, I'm gonna finish this. It's sounding like... Yep, that's going high A tier for me. Mid A tier. Alright, Curiosity. Ooh, I really like this theme. This is a short little soundbite. But this has to go to be honest, it has to go right above Know My Ruins for me, not above The Search. It's a really great little build-up, and it plays when you collect the Know My Mask to get Solanum's instrument. Great little piece right there. Major spoiler warning ahead, travelers. It may be something that you think you've heard before. You might listen to it at first and be like, wait, this isn't spoilers, but I will warn you, no matter what you think, this is a spoiler. It is not the same as zooming out as far as you can away from the solar system and pointing your signal scope directly at it and listening to all of the travelers play their instrument. But I will warn you, there is major spoilers ahead. So tread carefully and skip to the next couple of songs, which honestly I would just recommend playing the game if you have too many spoilers here. But let's dive right into this song, this amazing song. Right away, this is going into S tier for me. It'll probably be a bit lower later on. However, I think this is the best track so far. Beautiful ending to the game. Imagine you and your buddies and your pals are sitting around a campfire one last time, are on a Discord call one last time, are doing whatever you do one last time. One final hike, one final campfire, one final call, one final class together. And you do your favorite thing. you know, you always did together. That one thing that always brought everyone together. That one thing that always connected each other. Knowing that as soon as this moment was over, the bond between you all was also over. It was the end of an era that you knew would pass, but this was the first moment you realized that it was actually over. That's the feeling you get from the song. That's the feeling, ultimately, that you get from the end of this game. And I think this song particularly captures that beautifully. And I think the echoing, where the whistling kind of fades into the distance, and the rest of the song does too, slowly. It captures that feeling of distancing itself very, 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 very well. Until it's pretty much just gone. The song is gone. You can hear trace memories of it, but it's still gone. And it beautifully, beautifully encapsulates that feeling of, we're going to have one moment left, the one moment where we were all connected, one thing that connected everyone, even the one character in the entire game that you meet that you cannot speak to but has a language, you still decide that they can join you, that they can be a part of it, and they put their own instrument into the mix, a foreign instrument. Granted, it's not foreign to us, it's foreign to the rest of everyone else, but they bring something new. And I think that that feeling of connecting everyone that you've met throughout your journey, including a stranger, makes this song all the more beautiful. And I think that's why I have to put this song into S tier. And I listen to another song, usually. However, this one is going to be the one that I'm going to have to add to a bunch of playlists as well. Next, Let There Be Light. This is a short soundbite. It's short, sweet, does what it needs to do, does it very effectively. There's honestly not much to be said about this. I'm going to put it at the very, very top of B tier. Thank you. That one gave me a lot of trouble. Okay. 14.3 billion years. Excellent song. Not really much to be said about this one, to be honest. Just kidding. I'll start with kind of a repetitive piano. It's a really, really, really great ending. It's amazing that he dropped this as the end credits theme, because it's a very ponderful song that you can just sit and think to for a while as you kind of collect your thoughts, like, what in the world did I just do? What did I just play? What did I just witness? What did I just experience? What journey was I just a part of? And you just sit there and listen to it as you think of everything that's happened. This is going to be right above Travelers for me. One of the best songs in the game by a long shot. To be honest, I want to play a couple more clips, this one in particular. It goes from these grounded instruments, the violin, banjo, and all that, into this synthy thing that plays in Curiosity. Or not Curiosity, pardon. 22 minutes? I think? Yeah. And also in Castaways. And then kind of this, it kind of has this build up, right? The violin hits. The piano hits. And it all kind of comes together. It's banjo. Kind of plays the main theme of the song. it captures the essence of the game so beautifully well. And you just sit there and listen to this. You listen to this. You don't skip the credits. And that's very intentional, obviously. And so it plays this as you experience this really crazy feeling that I feel like a lot of people just don't give time for nowadays, where you just sit and think for a while. You are forced into a position where you just try to understand the world around you and what just happens. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's something that, again, we just don't get anymore. You finish a movie, and instead of watching the credits, you might sit there for a second, but you leave, you go into your car and you drive home. And on the drive home, you might think about it, but you don't just sit. You don't just give yourself nothing to do and wait in a dark room or watching the credits. You leave the theater. You don't sit amazed, which you kind of are forced to do in this. And regardless of whether or not you were forced to, you do it anyway because you want to. And this is just, it's not background music. It's music that makes you remember individual pieces of the story, which is, I think, what makes it so beautifully well composed. Because it brings back tiny little elements and motifs from previous parts of the soundtrack and squeezes it all together into one beautiful, beautiful song. Next up, Mourning. Not mourning as in being sad, but mourning as in the time of day. This is a really great song, and I love the spot that it plays too. It's very poetic that it's called Mourning, in my opinion, because it's literally the first time that you see the universe you created through your memories. Short little piece, but very, very, very great nonetheless. Probably my favorite of all the short little songs. Curiosity's there. I think this has to go above the Sun Station, not above the museum. Actually, right below that. Above the Search for sure. Campfire song. I don't know where you hear this song, if you do at all, to be honest. I would look it up, but I haven't done that for anything else, so I'm going to leave that to anyone else who wants to figure that out for themselves. This is one that I hear a lot, but I don't really give it a lot of thought. It's very different. And it doesn't honestly sound like most of the other songs, to be honest. Honestly, to be honest. Wow. But what I can say about this is it still has elements that feel Outer Wilds-y enough to fit the rest of the song. It's a lot more deep and just lots of rock moments in this. Interesting. There's still a piano in the background, a kazoo, nice. This is very good. I like this a lot. I'm unfortunately not going to rank this very high though, because I don't know the meaning behind this song. I think this has to go below the Search for me. Beautiful song, and I'm going to add it to playlists for sure. But to be honest, I don't quite know, other than the fact that There might be a place that this is in the game that I didn't encounter, but I wasn't there. Yeah, this goes where it goes. Into the Wilds. This is, I believe, the song that plays in the trailer for the game. preview, whatever you want to call it. It's a very good song that kind of incorporates a lot of elements from the game again. Very mysterious, unknown elements, almost scary elements. I'm going to have to, unfortunately, though, put this somewhere in C tier. No, this goes right above the Uncertainty Principle in B tier. That's pretty easy for me. Never mind. It's very intense, and it has this right here, so it just has to go in B tier. Beautiful. All right, Arrow of Time. Okay, it's a Timber Hearth. Whoa. Interesting. That was a weird explosion of things. Hold up. That was very Echoes of the Eye, but I think that was leaning more towards what is it, Castaways, than Echoes of the Eye. Spoiler alert, by the way, for a later song. No, I'm partially messing. However, I do think this will be right above 22 minutes, just simply because it's way too short. That was a really crazy explosion, though. That right there was wild. We Have Liftoff. Beautiful song. I'm not sure where the song plays. It's very interesting, though. I really do like this song, and I already know where I'm going to put this. This is going to have to go... I think for me, it's going to go right above the Ancient Glade. No, to be honest, I think this has to go above Ashman Project, but it's going to be in B tier for me. Once again, this is lining up very nicely. This is not intentional. And we have A Terrible Fate, the last song from the Outer Wilds OST. I'll just give you a little summary of the rest of the song. Terrible Fate. I'm going to have everyone listen to this absolute beautiful song. This masterpiece of composition. And genuinely, I don't know what it is. I love this song to death. It is going to have to go at the bottom of A tier for me. It does not deserve to go in B tier. It's way too good for that. But it's like it doesn't. It's kazoos. I think it's gonna have to go above Castaways, genuinely. But like, how do you make kazoos sound this good? That's my issue with this song. I don't understand it. Andrew Prahlow is genuinely a wizard, but you know what? Whatever. We're just gonna have to live with the fact that he's a goat.
It's so obnoxious. It's great.
It is so obnoxious. It's great. All right. So, our first Echoes of the Eye original soundtrack song, Into Shadow. This is a very intense song, I guess, and I love it. Now to start the Echoes of the Eye soundtrack, I am going to move main title right here. Timber Hearth as well. Space. That right there is why Into Shadow goes right above Outer Wilds for me. Actually, Ash Twin Project. Actually, no, this goes bottom of A tier. For sure. Spoiler warning for the next song. It is a pretty big explosion. That's, I think, all that I can say about this next song. This is a good time for me to say that this entire soundtrack is subjective, of course, or the rating for the soundtrack is anyway. And the reason I say this now is because I want to say this is, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest songs ever composed, which might lead into some spoilers of what's going to win. But also might not. There are some crazy contenders for first place right now. And this is up there for sure. And in order to fully flesh them out, I'm going to take a pause to this song, play River's End as I rank it. I'm much more familiar with the soundtrack, so I'm going to rapid fire it a little bit more. River's End is going to have to go right above, I think right above Castaways for me. It's not quite Terrible Fate level. Terrible Fate is probably a pretty big controversy that's going to be in mine. But it is where it is. River's End, there's not a whole lot to it. There's a lot to it, but not a lot that I think can be said in a fairly short amount of time. First Seekers. Great song. Particularly right here. The First Seekers, I think, has to go into right above Outer Wilds for me. Right there. That is a great spot for it. There's not a lot I feel like that can be said about this song other than it's very fitting for its place in the game. Has a lot of unique elements to it, and again, it has it introduces the horror element of Echoes of the Eye very, very nicely, which is beautiful. Next, we have The Premonition. This is a really solid song. However, I don't think I can put this higher than The Sun Station. I think this one, starting with The First Seekers, these are all slide reel songs, but I might be wrong. So I'm gonna kind of, again, rapid fire these. Strange Flames. Weirdly good song. I don't think I can put this above. Has to be low C tier for me. It's not a great song, in my opinion. If you were to sit down and listen to this before having any of the context, more power to you, I guess. Sorry for the audio change. I had to pick something up. If this is your music taste, that's great. I don't think it's most people's, and I'm willing to say that. I enjoy listening to it. I'm not going to say that it is my favorite song, and I'm willing to die on that hill, and say that most people would not go out of their way to find songs just like this. But it is very fitting. And like the rest of the soundtrack, has a very eerie element to it, and of course projects that very intense sound of, or that feeling of horror, you know, which is beautiful and perfect. Exactly what it needs to be. A Dream of Hope. Highlights. Let's start with right here. I think A Dream of Hope for me is going to go right above the Uncertainty Principle. There's not a whole lot to it that's amazing. However, it's a solid song. That's lining up way too well. Oh, no, what am I saying? I think this has to go right above... Oh, that's right, never mind. Yes. Okay, this is going to go right above A Terrible Fate. I kind of forgot about this song. Great song, holy cow. Yeah, this is one of the slide reel songs. I don't have most of these fully memorized yet. Eternal Halls. If I start freaking out about seeing the slightest thing in the right side of my vision, it's purely PTSD. Because holy days, does this bring back some intense memories. Yeah. I can already, like, feel the feeling of seeing a hand reach out around. There's a corner that I can see in the room that I'm in, and I can already very strongly grasp the feeling of a hand reaching out past that corner, grabbing it very slowly and creepily. And I think Eternal Halls very well encapsulates the feeling of intense horror. Not a song that I would ever listen to because it freaks me out way too much. So I'm going to have to put this probably at the bottom of B tier, because it is a very solid song. It accomplishes what it needs to beautifully. And it has this ending part, which is really very pretty. The next song that we have is a pretty massive spoiler warning. And so if you want to see my ranking for it, there you go. Probably a slightly hot take for some people. For other people, this might go above The River even. I don't think it's that good, but I genuinely don't know. There's so many renditions of this song that I think are probably some of the best music ever. Unfortunately, though, they are tethered to other pieces. For example, the 22-minute Outer Wilds Suite. I forget exactly what the name of the song is. It might just be Outer Wilds Suite or something like that by Stereonauti, and as well as that, No Tone Tyrone's Outer Wilds original game soundtrack orchestral version, I think it is. It's a cover, though, and then both of those are 22 minutes long and have amazing River soundtracks and Elegy for the Rings, not soundtracks, but little pieces, I guess. So, without further ado, and a major spoiler warning, here's Elegy for the Rings by Andrew Prahlow. If I hyped it up way too much for people who don't care about spoilers, then I fully understand. However, its place in the game definitely constitutes it being in a high S tier, and I'm going to very heavily analyze this song. It's very, 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 very terrifying to listen to at first. With the context, you know this is a song that you listen to, and some people are shaking listening to the song out of fear. You are paranoid that you're going to get caught. You do not know what is going to happen to you if you turn the wrong corner, if you shine your right light wrong, if you take one step too many. You do not know what's going to happen. Well, you do know what's going to happen, but you don't want it to happen. It has that feeling of intense fear. But when you have context, when you know what is going on, you hear the sorrow from the voice of the creature singing this song. It's a song of longing for a home that they destroyed. It encapsulates their own fear for the eye of the universe, and very intensely provides this feeling of mutual understanding of why they sealed it off to the rest of the world. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song, and I love what it represents, and just a great piece by Andrew Prahlow, in my opinion. Forbidden Archives. Great song. I think I'm going to have to put this at the top of B tier. My reasoning for putting this higher than most people probably would, and maybe a little bit lower than some. Great song, contextually. Oh my gosh. Dude. You lower into that vault, and all of a sudden, poof. Safety. You know that everything is okay, but at the same time, there's mystery. It's dark, and it might not be safe. It is, spoiler warning, but you're not totally sure yet, because you just went through probably one of the most horrifying puzzles of your entire life. And by saying that, I'm talking about the character in the game. And it's a very scary part of the game. It is very intense. Yeah. Great, great, great song. Test Chamber 3. I said I was going to rapid fire. I'm going to have to put this probably right next to the first Seekers. This is a really solid song. Reminds me a lot of the Sun Station because it's an experiment that went wrong. And again, just a solid song. I think it deserves to be right next to the first Seekers. Very bizarre. I think I might actually bump this up right behind Into Shadow. Right above Castaways. Oh, let's not do that. Sealed Away. Pretty solid song. Contextually, I think it has to go above the Premonition. Below the Museum, for sure. Pretty solid song, though. Fear into Ashes. The context for this song is crazy, and I think that it goes above Morning, below Sun Station. It's overall a pretty solid track. Dark Passage. Oh, that is... What? Oh. Is the Lost Waltz. That's okay. It's not gonna win. But we're going to play this. And that is very bizarre. I might be completely blind, but the Lost Waltz for me would go right above Forbidden Archives at the top of B tier. Really solid song, very interesting. Very bizarre. I don't know what the lore implications are for it, but very bizarre. Dark Passage. Oof. This does not make me feel very good inside. This is all things where you are around one of the strangers. Does not make you feel very good. Makes you feel pretty awful and terrified. I'm going to have to put this right below the Ash Twin project. Very intense song. There's a lot. Into the Vault. This is a shorter soundbite, but I think it can go right next to Morning. Just because it's kind of a shorter soundbite. Less than it is a song. The Secret Ways. Or just Secret Ways, I guess. This is a really solid song. This is going to have to go right above Castaways for me. As you might notice, I don't think there's going to be a single E or F tier song for me. Which might lead me to deleting those tiers later on for the sake of seeing everything. We already skipped to The Sound of Water. Great song. I love the context behind it. It's so beautiful, but wait. Okay, maybe this isn't what I thought it was. I know that this is a great song. Nonetheless, I think this deserves to go above Space for me. It's kind of a little bit repetitive, but has got a lot of little elements from everything and kind of pulls a bunch of things together. But to be honest with you, I am moving on to another spoilery song. So if for some reason you are still here and don't want to encounter spoilers, here's a spoiler warning. Now, I'm going to go ahead and rank the rest of the songs in the soundtrack before I dive into this at all. But these 3 songs right here are going to be... I don't know a better way of saying this. Those 3 songs are going to be competing head-to-head for a very intense battle that we'll get to that later. Departure. Great little soundbite, but to be honest with you, I don't think it can go above Curiosity for me. No, it goes above Curiosity, just above Curiosity. Very cute though. I love that. Love that song. Travelers Encore. This goes right above Travelers for me, not above 14.3 billion years though. Major spoiler warning ahead. Major spoiler warning ahead. This is the biggest spoilery song in the entire game. Okay. We've heard the majority of this song. Has all the instruments. Plays. It's nice. There's the piano from Solanum. And the stranger joins in. But this time there's no fading. They all play together. One of these characters cannot even communicate with the rest of you through anything but memories. This character knows the story of the Nomai, This character knows how it helped the Nomai. This character knows how it helped you. This character knows. But ultimately, it's responsible for the course of the events that happen in the game. From the Nomai discovering the Eye of the Universe, to you eventually going to the Eye of the Universe. Sorry about that. Beautiful song, and I like how it ends. It has to go just above Travelers for me. Very strange. Okay. Travelers Encore is not here. However, I don't think this one would be winning. It would go just below 14.3 billion years for me. So that's good to know. End of the Wilds. This is a very great sad song, in my opinion, and I think this deserves bottom of A tier. No higher, no lower. And you can tell that when Andrew Prahlow composed this, he was a little bit sad. I think he knew. I think this was kind of a major passion project for him and one of his favorite projects, but I might be wrong about that. And this song really, I feel like, is impactful to anyone who's played the game before. When you listen to it, you can definitely get the little hints that, or the little piece of nostalgia, especially with that one background noise that almost sounds like footsteps, or like someone reeling something, or it's just a very nice, slower song, and I think it's a really great song for the end of the soundtrack, other than Postlude. I might be pronouncing that completely terribly, but again, I don't know much about most music theory, and I'm not great with names, so. I don't think I've actually heard this song before. This reminds me a lot of Interstellar. Wow. Very interesting. Okay. I think this song for me is going to have to go low B tier. No, this is the bottom C tier. Very, very pretty song though. I like this a lot. This is a great transition to the Lost Reels. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is going into some playlists. Alright. Now to start this out, I want to say this is a 36-minute long soundtrack. Well, I say soundtrack. But I would say it's more of a playlist of songs that he decided to make after the fact. I think it's genuinely some of the best music that Andrew Prahlow has made. Not all of it's equal, not all of it's best. But without further ado, Last Dream of Hope. It kind of starts with this very soft piano. familiarize yourself with all of the little instruments throughout these 6 songs, because they're used throughout pretty much the entire thing, I think. This is a very nice song. I love this atmospheric part. So good. I think this deserves, for me, right there. Almost top of A tier. Not quite better than the Nomai. I think that song, yeah, it's better than the Nomai. Oh, no. It's gonna go right above Timber Hearth. And I'm moving Timber Hearth, by the way. There we go. And this song perfectly transitions to... I'm just going to let this happen. Never mind, it does not. Interesting. Lost signal. So, without saying too much, there we go. This song is stunning. This is almost hard to listen to for me, if I'm doing anything. It's got so many elements to it that I wish Andrew Prahlow used in... yeah. It's got so many elements in it that I wish were used in the rest of the soundtrack. However, I am more than happy with the way that ended out, but man, right there, yeah, this is a great song in my opinion, and one of the best for this track. And so I'm going to put it on right here. This section is really great, which slowly moves on to quieting everything else down, which transitions right about here, I think. Yes, here it is, which has just a very focused feeling. Kind of zooms you in and then blurs it all. It's all echoey and not big, but wavy, and there's a lot more movement going on. And then it calms down for a little bit, kind of mimicking the rest of the soundtrack. So yeah, I think that is one of the best songs out of this entire track, which transitions into this one. Amazing. I did not know that. If it was hard to tell somehow, I think this is probably Andrew Prahlow's best song. Probably, and I say probably because there is 7 minutes and 48 seconds of this song. I want you to imagine what is going to happen for the next 7 minutes and 48 seconds. Yeah, exactly. It just continues out this guitar section. Yeah, just kidding. It fades to a lot more abstract, slightly more ambient, and then strings. This might be synths. Goes super high. and then reaches a peak where it has a very quick descent. Moves back into the rhythm for a second to the slower part. Has that really iconic motif that's used throughout the song. Gets that rhythm going a little bit more. That clicky sound. I don't know what that is, but then it fades, and the Spirit of Water. This is a hard one for me to rank, but to be perfectly honest, I'm going to set this one right below the Nomai. This is the shortest song, I think, out of the entire, out of this section. And that right there is why I think I have to move this right below Last Dream of Hope. And it might be fairly obvious, but these songs are not the ones competing, it is these ones. So, sorry, Outer Wilds original OST. Original soundtrack. Great. Sorry, Outer Wilds soundtrack. But you were great, just not great enough compared to the rest. And it slows down entering this banjo section right about here. Nope, not yet. And just kind of makes this section come to a close. This section of, I guess, this 3 or 4 song long movement, I guess. I don't know what to call that. And then it ends at 4 minutes and 22 seconds. 2 seconds too long. Hearth's Shadow. To be honest with you, the one song in this entire soundtrack this is the one song in the entire soundtrack that I have a hard time listening to, and to be really honest, this might be a really hot take, this might be a totally fair take. This is the worst song in the soundtrack. It's not that I hate it, it's not that it's bad, but it's just not the rest of the soundtrack. It's just not super fitting, and I like that Andrew Prahlow was being very experimental with this song. I don't hate it, I don't think it's bad, I just very simply think that it is his weakest song by a long shot, which is fair. He was experimenting. Older than Older Than the Universe. I think this one is officially, like, genuinely going to be right below the Nomai. For no reason other than it doesn't quite live up to the rest of this playlist right here, the Lost Reels playlist, which is, by the way, those 6 songs are released by Andrew Prahlow if you want to listen to them. They're called the Lost Reels. Highly recommend checking them out. Very, 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 very good. Or not playlist, album. But yeah, this is a very orchestral song. Oh, orchestral. Oh, maybe a little bit more. But it's a lot more string focused than the rest of his music. And I say string focused even though there's a lot of guitars and guitar synths, whatever. But yeah, this song is very different and very good, but it's a weird one for me to end on. That being said, that is the entire soundtrack. You've officially heard bits and pieces of the entire Outer Wilds soundtrack, the entire Echoes of the Eye soundtrack, and the Lost Reels. So, that being said, we have 5 songs competing for the best song. Okay. So, here are the songs that we have in S+. We have Rivers and Times, Echoes of the Eye, Lost Signal, The River, and Elegy for the Rings. Without further ado, let's get listening. So, to start out, we have Lost Signal. Now, the reason that I think this song deserves to be so high placed is because of this intro portion and this part right here. This part is, to be perfectly honest with you, the piece that I think makes this so insanely good compared to the rest of the soundtrack. But it also has certain parts like this where it's a lot more echoey and movement, and it's not as stable and grounded like the rest of the soundtrack. And it fades down, makes it a lot more quieter and ambient. And it has this part, which is, I think, a little piece very similar to or the same as the little melody that the stranger plays, which I think is just so cool, of course. So yeah, Lost Signal. I don't feel perfectly right giving this the best song of the soundtrack. I think it might get second place though. So let's listen to Rivers and Times. To be honest with you, it's the entrance that really, 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 really elevates this song, in my opinion. But the rest of the song doesn't quite do it justice. There's little elements like this, especially this, that make it so good. Which I think it's just above Lost Signal, which means Lost Signal is not making it into the bracket. Rivers and Times might. Next, we have Echoes of the Eye. Now, I'm going to have to look this up. There it is. This is just such a great song. I really don't know what to say other than it is just beautiful. But to be honest, there's parts like this. It has so many elements from the entire game, which makes perfect sense because it's a summary of everything you know about the game. Everything your character has discovered plays when you play this song. And you can even hear that same noise that is played in 22 minutes if you listen closely. Just carefully in the background. And it faded. It's gone. Because now we're not sad anymore. The Nomai died, but we've accepted it. We've accepted their death. So we're going to be happy. We're going to look at what's good, the growth that will come of this. This might be the death and the end of a universe. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Because when a tree dies, mushrooms grow on it, right? When a universe dies, another universe comes out of it. There's an image in Outer Wilds of a flower growing. It's I think it's the eye of the universe inside of the flower or something. Whatever that flower depicts though is, I think, incredibly symbolic for the rest of the game. And I think Echoes of the Eye, for me, has to go right above Lost Signal. The river. There's a lot to unpack here. This starting part that I think... Yeah, there's so much exploration that comes when you listen to this. And you splash into the water and the song plays and you see so much. And then you hear it every time you get back into that water. And it's so exciting, so energetic, and there's nothing like it in the rest of the soundtrack. Second place. The elk that either sings or plays its instrument in the background. It's almost a theremin. It's almost like a theremin, and it's not. And, well, okay, I might be slightly off about that, but I don't think it is a theremin. It almost sounds like a person singing, but very distorted. There's so many elements of this song it's just so much to unpack. And then it goes back to the original, fading into River's End, which is... it's just so beautifully done. And it's, in my opinion, one of the best songs, just in general. Elegy for the Rings. Hearing everything that I just said might discourage the Elegy for the Rings fans, but I'm just going to play the song and talk for a second. So I already said what I needed to say about it before, so I'm not going to repeat myself. Scary? Wait, sad. Listen, you can hear it very, very subtly. They are mourning something so deeply. They have this insanely intense sadness and longing. But they know they can't reach it. They know they can't come back to it. It almost sounds like they are crying. Please, I just want to go back to my home, right? But for an observer who has no context, they hear this and they are understandably fearful. What is this? What is making this noise? This is loud. This is not normal. I do not know a noise that sounds like this. It distorts. And it becomes more grounded all of a sudden, and you start to understand, you start to kind of connect yourself with these creatures, this species. And to be honest with you, Elegy for the Rings, unfortunately, has to take third place simply because the song itself, in my personal opinion, does not quite hold itself to the same standard as the people who recreated the song. And I would love to make a tier list for the covers. However, this is already going to take me forever, and it's already going to be a massive project. So, without further ado, that is my ranking of the Outer Wilds soundtrack. Oh man, great soundtrack. Highly recommend. And of course, River's End Times and The River both win. Elegy for the Rings in a close third place. Echoes of the Eye coming very close behind, and Lost Signal. Ultimately, I knew it wouldn't win. I don't feel right putting it above the other three songs in the DLC, but River's End Times just absolutely swept, and I kind of thought that was going to happen. So, yeah, if you enjoyed and want to see more content like this, great. If not, great. You don't have to watch the rest of my videos. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I guess just hope to see more videos relatively soon. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later. Well, not see you later. That's parasocial.